Hello everyone, welcome back. This is RandoGEEK. So important update here for Verizon customers. This is important for many reasons, right? Changes are likely to happen. Could be positive, could be negative. The idea here is that positive changes are expected, and that is why this transition is taking place. Hans Vestberg, arguably not the best CEO currently. A lot of losses, right? A lot of sales declining. Ideas, I guess, are running out, and he claims this is the best for Verizon. They want new CEO Schulman to come in and kind of fix and undo the things that Hans has not done correctly. Schulman was former PayPal chief, and he's been involved with Verizon since 2018. And Hans is stepping down from that position, but he will remain in the background. It's a very similar situation to what T-Mobile is doing, with Mike Sievert stepping down, but still remaining on the board, at least for a little while, and Srini coming in and taking ownership. So I feel it's the same thing in many ways, that Hans will still be in the background, at least for another year or two. And he'll be doing a lot less work, still making a lot of money. And, Schulman will have to roll up his sleeves. He'll be getting paid some big bucks now, but he'll also be doing what is called the heavy lifting for Verizon. And maybe he can bring some new, fresh ideas to the company. Now, I don't know. The thing with Verizon is they've improved in some areas and they've declined in others. Now, what I'll say is what I said about T-Mobile when we talked about Mike stepping down. It's tough for a CEO to really be able to get their hands dirty in 2025. The economy is struggling. Things are getting worse. No matter what you read about things getting better. With tariffs on the way, things are still very expensive. We haven't seen much change of prices going down with anything. We're hearing a lot of blah, 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 but we're not seeing a lot of change. Broken promises, if you will. And it really doesn't matter who's in office. I think the same thing is just going to happen because there's someone else in the background pulling the strings. The people that are speaking are puppets. And with that being said, this affects the economy, this affects the businesses. These big three carriers, at&t and Verizon and T-Mobile, expect to make a lot of profit. And they're not doing that. They're not making as much as they want. That is why they're buying a lot of the MVNOs now. They've figured out another way to kind of stay in business, right? To attract customers to their network using other brand names. And I've talked about that in the T-Mobile video. And I think it's a genius idea. And I think it's really the best idea now because a lot of their, names are tarnished. I've said that Verizon's brand is tarnished for many. A lot of bad experiences, problems with billing, problems with the service, whatever it is, customer service, right? So now if you can get yourself Verizon on Visible or Total or US Mobile, you're still getting network access. You feel like you're dealing with a different company. It's a new experience, maybe a better experience, and you're satisfied. But at the end of the day, Verizon still makes money on this. So it's a great idea, right? It's a good idea for these companies to be, I guess, doing this. It's kind of becoming a monopoly where the big three are owning all the MVNOs, as where, 5+ years ago, we had many different companies that were not related in any way to the big three to choose from. But, it is what it is. It's a brand new day. And unfortunately, this is how things are going. The FCC isn't really putting a stop to it. They're getting their hands in a cookie jar as well, getting paid off of this. So I guess everyone seems to be satisfied. Is the customer satisfied? Mostly. There's a lot of customers that are finding out about Visible now with them being in Best Buy, Total, right? Total Wireless being advertised a lot more. So customers are finding out about these newer, cheaper alternatives to give them Verizon access without having to go to postpaid and prepaid. And this can be ultimately hurting them on that side, which is why we're probably seeing more of a decline, right? Subscribers are leaving postpaid and prepaid from Verizon because they're finding out that there's better deals. So that's part of it, right? So we may not be able to blame Hans for every subscriber loss, but at the same time, maybe he's only able to do so much. Like Mike, he's trying not to pull too much away from customers. Think about it. Verizon has this reputation of being what they think in their mind, and for many customers, they probably agree. Verizon is considered one of the higher standard wireless carriers, right? I feel personally Verizon, AT&T are the two well-known, reliable carriers that most people go for when they want to feel like they have a stronger, more reliable network. T-Mobile still, and probably will be for at least for a while, will be the fun carrier, the cheaper alternative, the okay network that works most of the time, but still not the go-to service, right? Verizon, AT&T, if you're someone out in the field regularly, if you're, a lawyer, a doctor, or something of that kind, you're not going to really choose T-Mobile. You don't see many of that. If you pull over a doctor or a lawyer or first responder and you looked at what carrier they're using, it's going to be most likely Verizon or AT&T. It's just how it is. It's who they trust. And that is why these carriers charge what they charge, because of that. And AT&T solely charges because of their reputation and reliability, because we know that their plans are the most watered down of all. But, I think there's only so much, Hans can do to kind of make postpaid profitable, prepaid profitable, without taking more perks away. So maybe Schulman has a better idea. Maybe he's not afraid of getting more aggressive, and we'll see how that pans out, right? His experience at PayPal, he's been there for a long time, right? He was there from 2014 to 2013. He's had a relationship, right? He's been part of Verizon's board since 2018. He's held telecom experiences at, he has telecom experience at AT&T, Sprint, Nextel, Virgin Mobile. So he has knowledge of how wireless service works, how wireless companies work. AT&T is one of the big three carriers. Virgin Mobile was very big back in its day, and of course Sprint, Nextel, very big. So it's not like he's new, but he may have what Verizon needs. He may be willing to do the things that Hans can no longer do. There's been a lot of you that have been displeased with Hans for a while, and I don't know. I feel like they've been trying, and I feel like there's been some good improvements over the last year or so. But, at the same time, I think it's hard for all these CEOs to kind of compete in a market where people are just not making as much, don't want to spend as much. And now with the competition, it's like they're competing with themselves, with the MVNOs. I mean, how can you really, for the most part, compare Verizon postpaid, let's say their most expensive $90 plan, to say even just Visible Pro Plus? I mean, it's half the price. You're getting a ton of benefits, and its service works great. Why would you pay $90? Why? You can say, oh, the priority. You're getting great priority, with Visible, and it feels like very great priority. More importantly, no matter even what it says on record, you can feel the difference. You can feel that it works, that it's smooth, it's reliable, more than anything on paper, right? Because a lot of things look good on paper, but then when you test it out, it's not always worth what you're paying for. So, I think that's another struggle here. And that's one thing you notice with AT&T. There isn't as many MVNOs, right? AT&T is they're being stingy with lending out the network. There's only a couple of people they're really giving it to. They probably made a massive payout deal with US Mobile so that they can get Dark Star. And then there's not many else, right? There's Boost, but you see that worked in their favor because they were able to get their hands on Boost Spectrum. So it was really just a deed done for themselves at the end AT&T is very much like that. They're stuck in their ways, and they're good with that. You know, they don't care that much. They're focused on fiber and home internet for them. That's their bread and butter now. They want to be considered more internet than wireless anyway. So I don't know. I guess I'll leave it there for you guys. You can let me know your thoughts if you want down below. You know, let me know what you think about this transition here. We have T-Mobile, we have Verizon. Don't be surprised if we hear something about John Stankey stepping down now, because, you know, the board might say, well, you know, we're not really making what we want, John. What can you do? Oh, well, you know, I can't do much. Well, then I think we should replace you. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you never know. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.